Hi Flosstube, I'm Lori and welcome to Once Upon a Stitch. Today is Sunday, May 1st, 2022. It is my 97th Flosstube video. Yoo-hoo! Anyway, welcome. If you're new, I hope you like what you see. Give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And all my viewers, thank you so much for coming back all the time and making comments and, you know, just being you because I love you. This is like my fourth take. And for those of you who watch me know that, no, don't stop it. Just keep going. And I don't know. I shared something and I thought maybe I shouldn't be sharing this. But you know, I want to be honest with everybody. And I had the last two videos, I had some not so nice comments, and people had, because they didn't like one giveaway was only continental United States, so she was upset with me and said she was going to she made some comments and then she says, well, I guess I'm out of here. Well, that's fine. There's so many Flosstubers to choose who you choose to watch, and if I'm not one, that's fine. And then another one, because I had said, please don't say giveaway in your comments, she thought I was being salty. And I think that means nasty. And kept saying giveaway in her comment and everything. So I deleted her comment as well. And I always advised others, which maybe I should have taken my own advice, is to snap a photo of that and share it here with all of you. You know, I just say don't say giveaway because we want people who actually stitch and follow us get the giveaways that we're sharing with you. So anyway, there were just comments on the last two videos that kind of like upset me somewhat. I'm here just to share my love of cross stitching and being inspired by you, and you possibly being inspired by what I'm stitching. So please don't take offense when I say things like that. I mean it in the sincerest way, that I do want my viewers and cross stitchers to get what I'm giving away. Okay, so we're going to start with the giveaway. And the first giveaway was by Hands On Design. You Had Me at Flamingo. This does not come with any pins or anything, but it has the pattern for this big pillow. And I say big pillow because I stitch on 28 count, so it ended up being large. It called for 32 count linen, so it doesn't say what size on the outside. Oh, it's 90 by 94. The pillow, 90 by 94. And then they come and it has the pattern for these three on the bottom. And the winner was number one, was Blushing Pink Stitches. And she likes stitching on 14 count Aida and 32 count linen. And it was number 21. There she is on the bottom. And we had 69 people put in for number one. So let me just put this together. Number two was With Thy Needle and Thread, CS45 Pumpkin Farm. And number two winner, we had 83 people like that one. And number 15 is DAZ Stitcher, right there. That was number two. Number three is two patterns, and that was a reproduction using motifs from the Anne Grant reproduction sampler, and that's a sampling of Anne from Shakespeare's Peddler. And the other one is a Lizzie Kate Think Spring. And I showed that finished in my last video. And the recipient of those two patterns. Let's see, we had 89 people put in for that. And number 44, Christine Southard, Southard. She likes stitching on 28, 32, and 36. Christine Southard, Southerd. I will make a comment on everybody's comment later on today. And please, if you can message me on Instagram, I find it easier to accept your message and get your address there, because sometimes on emails it goes to spam. Sometimes I don't see it. Sometimes it doesn't show up. Then number 4 were these 3 small ones, and this is Ben Creek. They're called Zippies, and this is Turkey. This one's Lizzie Kate Family and Lizzie Kate Home. And the winner is of that one is we had 76 people put in for that, and number 60, Stitching in the Valley, Stitching in the Valley, and that's number 60, and she likes stitching on 28 count. If I didn't put even weave or Lugana, maybe she didn't mention it, but 28 count, which is my go-to Lugana count. I find it easier to see, and I like the texture of the fabric. Okay, so congratulations to all the winners. Okay, I worked on one finish, but I'm going to show you some previous finishes. So I had to look up some of the names of them. I knew the designer, or I didn't know the name, or I knew the name and I want to make sure of the designer. So the first 2 that I'm going to share with you is Scattered Seed Samplings. This was Gathering Eggs, and this one is Spring Delivery. And I think they're so cute. ABC and 1, 2, 3. And I put the pipe in. I know a lot of people left the pipe out, but now I'm dating myself. When I was a little girl, many moons ago, we had these bubble pipes, and they had cross hatched on it, and they were plastic, and you put the bubble solution in there, and then you would blow, and these bubbles would like kind of cascade out of there. Actually, they didn't go up in like regular bubbles. So, but that's what I remember. So not to take the pipe out altogether, I said he's blowing on a bubble pipe. So those are my 2 that I had out for Easter this year. The next one is a Lizzie Kate, and this is Happy Easter. And I think this is I love the colors in this. I really do. I think they pop, and that was the idea behind it. Was something, see, like the previous one was kind of like, I don't know, I consider it prim colors. This one's lively colors. I don't have a preference. I like them both. So that's why you see me stitch different things, because I just like different colors. The next one is Tra-La-La, and I had to look this one up. Translated into English, it was Egg Hunt, and I just love this little pillow. I think she's adorable, and I finished it like that. And I used some shirred trim. I ruffle it ahead of time. I have a long piece of trim, and I do a running stitch through it, and then I tug it, and then when I have enough to go around the whole pillow, then I'll hand stitch it all the way around. The Egg Hunt. I think Dena half cross stitch just finished her. And then the next one's a Blackbird design, and this was an out of print chart, and then they released it, so that's when I bought it. And this is Easter Parade, and I like the way this came out. I put it in a gold frame. I have it standing like on an easel in the living room for Easter. So anything that said Easter, I kind of took down today. And but if it's anything that, like a regular rabbit or something, I left up. I have some rabbits still downstairs stitched, and anything that says spring, that's still out as well. Because I don't have too much summer and stuff, so I'm not taking it out right away. The next finish, this was a new finish that I worked on, and this is from the Blackbird Designs Sewing Club book, and this is what's called Garden Friends. I called it Hollyhocks, but it's really called Garden Friends from the sewing bag. And I finished it into a little pillow, and I put some lace trim on it. And I left the word Hollyhocks on the bottom because I really just love this part of it. I didn't totally finish yet. I want to put some walnut shells in here, and they're down the basement. So if I make a mess, I can easily clean up on the floor down there rather than in the rug up here. So I want to put some of that in, and then I'll put a cover on this, and I'll put the date on it, and all done. Alrighty. So those are my finishes and whips. What have I been stitching on? For those of you who have been following me, let's see, when did we do this? I don't know if it was the first weekend in April, but we did a Zoom call, and I think it was the first weekend in April. My stitchy friends, we did Zoom, and we had started 6 new things in 6 hours, but we did it over 2 evenings, a Friday night and Saturday night. We started at 7, so we did 7, 8, and 9. Give a few minutes between them, so it did go a little past 10, but every hour I had a timer. We'd set it, and for an hour we'd stitch on this new project to see how much we got done. And anybody knew, if you want to go back, I think it's 2 videos ago. I think it's 2, maybe 3. I show the progress that I made next, and I said how many stitches I got into it. So anyway, my first piece that I worked on was one of those 6. I finished 4 of the 6, and I have 2 more, the larger projects that I have to work on to finish. And this first one is I Love You to the Beach and Back. And let me show you the pattern. That would help. Let's see if I finish flare. I love you to the beach and back. And there's a few motifs and some waves on the bottom. And this is Needle Bling Designs. And for that first hour, I had stitched the seahorse, the entire eye, and L, like maybe up to here. So on our Zoom, we had a Zoom meeting, a call, and they wanted to stitch on what we were stitching on those hour things. So for the 3 hours that we were on, I continued to work on this, and I got the finished Love You to the bee. And do I say so many times? Yes. So anyway, that's how far I've gotten on this one. And this reminds me of the another 6 starts in 6 hours that we're planning on doing in July at the New Jersey Flosstube Retreat. And anybody who watches my video, I've spoken about attending the retreat, and you might be surprised to hear about the 6 new starts in 6 hours. We're working on working with that, and Arlene Cohen, who is running the New Jersey Flosstube Retreat. And once all the, like how we're going to do it, when we're going to do it, is going to happen, if it happens, she's going to make a comment on the Flosstube group page. And I just want to tell you that I am attending the New Jersey Flosstube Retreat. It is not just for Flosstubers. And the reason that it's called Flosstube Retreat is because of Flosstube in general, that we love watching Flosstube. It's for the love of Flosstube. It has nothing to do with Flosstubers. So if anybody's interested, the retreat is July 21st to the 24th. It's $100. There's going to be approximately 110 attendees. Now, I heard that Arlene has been going through her wait list because for whatever reason, people had to cancel. So if you're interested, I will put Arlene Cohen's Flosstube number down below. It's number 63, actually, that she talks about the retreat. And I'll put her email address if you want to talk to her about it. And in her Flosstube number 63, there's a link on the bottom. She asks that you fill in what is called a waiting list form. You just click on her link and it'll take you right to the form. And if you're interested, you know, we've had fun there. It starts on a Thursday afternoon around 3, I think the room is available. And then Friday we'll have a pizza party. Saturday will be smalls exchanges and raffles and some door prizes, I heard. I never win, but I get excited for those that do. Anyway, if you're interested, I just thought I'd mention that. Okay, back to WIP. Sorry to go on a tangent, if that's what's a tangent. The next thing I worked on is Mary Clayton by Hands Across the Sea Samplers. And the goal on this is to finish it this year. And I stitched the flower and the pot. Now, when I stitch, I always look for symmetry. I like when things are symmetrical. This is not symmetrical. So you have to be careful of how you stitch it. Like for instance, you see how close the flower is to the tree and there's so much space on this side? That's how it's charted. And that's probably how Mary stitched it. But because I had all this space, I moved it over one. I didn't want it touching, actually being part of the leaf. So the corners touch, but it was over more. So I moved it one stitch over. I don't think it'll make a difference because the other side doesn't touch. See, this side touch, this side doesn't touch. So I just moved it over one stitch. Probably should have moved it over a couple, but anyway, and then I stitched the center motif. So then I have another pot and this and the bottom border. So this is stitched on 28 count ivory Lugana with the call for DMCs. I think they always do silks. They have Soidage listed and they have MPIs, and I chose the DMC on that one. The next one I picked up is Brenda Key's The Sampler Company, and this one is the New England Sampler. They never put the name on the front, and I'm doing so many of these that, yeah. They put it on the inside. New England Sampler. And I enjoy working on this. I love the colors on this. I finished a house. Look how pretty those colors are. I finished this house, the chimney and the bird, and I started the next one. And I think this is so, so beautiful. And that's what attracted me to her patterns. It started with the Plymouth sampler. That was the very first one of them. That's hanging downstairs in my dining room. I've shown it before on my Flosstube. It's been a real long while. And the next one is also Brenda Key's, and this is the Scottish sampler. And this was funny because I took it out. I took the pattern out, and I'm looking for the key of what colors to use where, and I'm like, what did I do with it? Where did I put it? It's monochromatic. There's no key. Anyway, this is the Scottish sampler. I took out this middle band, and I'm not doing a straight box around it, the border. I think that because I frame my own stuff, I think that would, if I do it crooked, it will be more visible than if I had it without the border. So, what did I stitch? I stitched one letter, the Q, and the house. I finished the house. I had just started the very top of the house the last time you saw it. So I finished the entire house and the Q. And this is where I've gotten so far. Oops. I guess you can't see me if... Oh, there it is. And this is stitched on a 28 count golden tan Lugana. So it has some modeling in it. I think it's so pretty. And the DMC that I chose to use is 336. Then I picked this one up. It was like, okay, I'm gonna stop for a second. I'm getting a little bit overwhelmed with all the big projects that I have. And I have new starts, like 3 at least, scheduled for like the next, almost the whole year. I think there's one month that I had no new starts scheduled. And some of them are really, really big. For instance, I was going to show this later, but since we're in it, I was going to start today and work on it for 2 days. This Mirabilia, it's called Elizabeth, and I love it. And I took the pattern out of here. It's not in here anymore. I put it in the bag. And I went to Staples to make a copy. It's front and back. So they made it on 2 pieces of paper. Now, you're not going to be able to really see the pattern from far away, but it's pretty large. And I'm overwhelmed in starting this because it's so big. I've never stitched on something like this. And I don't know, I'm like, should I start it? It's going to be a while before I really finish it. I have so many big projects. So I'm on the fence. I'm almost at the point where saying, no, maybe I'll start in January again with, you know, these large projects. Maybe just do smalls from now until the end of the year. So anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you, that I made plans for the entire year, and then I have all these new starts wanting, and then I'm buying more that I want to stitch. So I think I'm going to, after this video, I'm going to, while it's uploading, I think I'm going to think about what I'm actually going to start to stitch for the rest of the year. If I come up with a plan, I'll share it if you're interested. You let me know if you want to know what I'm going to be stitching on ahead of time, or you just want to be surprised every month when it comes up. Okay. This is Heartstring Samplery. His eye is on the sparrow. I'm doing this on a 28 count Lugana called Heritage. And I was going to, the last time I showed this to you, I had said, oh, I'm going to finish this section here because there's motifs missing. And this is above the words. But I do an acrostic that I don't, you know, like I printed out from 24 Hours of Cross Stitch. Jen Lee shares an acrostic every month, and she has the letters, and then you put what you're going to work on. And for the letter U, I had said I was going to stitch on the words on his eye is on the sparrow underneath the words. I was going to stitch in, so I couldn't do the top. where I needed to finish this section. So I went back to this side and I stitched under the words. I did, let's see, 2, 3, these 5 flowers around. The border's done, it meets. So I put in the 5 flowers. I put in, I don't know, is it a deer? I'm not really sure. But let's see if I can get closer. I put that animal in and that flower. I enjoy stitching this when I'm stitching it, but I have trouble seeing the symbols, and it's easy to make one symbol another color, which I have done. But anyway, that's how I'm going to abbreviate the pattern, because I took out some of the how far down it really goes. So I'm doing an abbreviation of this. And I think I'm going to do in the center where the tree was, in the pattern here, this tree in the center and Adam and Eve. One of these flowers, I'm going to, and they're different colors. I'm going to look at the colors and see which colors I like better. And I'm going to put that in the center. And then the animal, I'll probably do the matching animal and flower on this side, and I'll probably try to keep it somewhat symmetrical and just pick small motifs along the way and just fill in the space. And that's how I'm going to stitch this one. Excuse me while I fold this tablecloth. It is so big a piece of fabric because of that I'm stitching it on 28 count. And actually, is this Beth Twist? I think it's Beth Twist, is Heartstring Samplery. This is stitched on a 28 count fabric. She used 1 thread over 2. I think she did it over 2, 1 over 2. And but I'm doing 2 threads over 2 stitches. Then I worked on, this is also scheduled for a finish this year, and it is Little House Neighborhood by Little House Needleworks. And the last time you saw it, I stitched the tree and 2/3 of the house, and then there's a flower basket. So I finished the house, the other side of the house, the flower basket, the tree, and I have to work on one more line of grass before I move on to the words. So this is what I was referring to. I finished this side of the house, the basket, no, urn, planter of this flower. And the tree. Oh, and you can't really see it, but there's a fence in here. I'll get close, see if you can see it. There you go. There's one on each side. And I worked a little bit on the border on this side. So I have, if you can see, like this grass stopped right here. I had to move the Q-snap, so I didn't put it all in. So I'll finish that, and then most likely I'll bring down the border somewhat, and then do the words. I don't know if I'll finish it in the next 2-day rotation, but definitely the 2 days after it. In 4 days I should be able to finish it. And this is, the goal is to finish that. And it's a goal on my WIP Go board as well. Okay, then last night and the night before I worked on Little House Needleworks Kringles. And my goal was to get down to this row of rooms. I finished the roof a while ago, and now I was starting on the rooms. And I'm doing this on a 28 count Springfield Sage Lugana. So I finished all the bricks and mortar. So what I stitched in this session was from here, this bricks and mortar and down. And then I put in the tree, the bunting at the top, some stars, and I just started the house. And those are supposed to be trees. I didn't put their trunk's in yet. I think two stitches of trunk. And so that's where I am on Kringles. And the goal was, I think I said, this whole row. So I skipped to this room instead of doing this one because this is where the pattern cuts off. And I don't enjoy working where the pattern meets and, you know, shaded areas. Some patterns are easy to read, but some I have a little bit more, I have to pay more attention to. So, and a wreath is right in the middle, so it's not a full coverage section, so you have to be really careful. So I was on a Zoom call and I didn't want to make any mistakes. Okay, so that's everything that I've been working on. I did that, and oh, I know. I wanted to just mention some Flosstubers that I've been watching. And I forgot to mention it in my last one, and I know a lot of you might have been watching them already because I've heard other people talk about them. The first one was Angie, and she's the tiny house stitcher. And what caught my attention when it first came up with her #1 video was tiny house stitcher. So she lives in a tiny house. So I was very curious. And sure enough, she does live in a tiny house, and she talks about it, and plus she shows some amazing stitching that she does. She's been stitching for a while, and she also makes project bags, and she sells them as well. So I'll put all these Flosstubers on the bottom. Another one I started watching was Cynthia Garr, G-A-R-R, the Intuitive Stitcher, but I believe it's under Cynthia Garr. Again, I'll write it on the bottom. And it was her first video, so she was a little nervous. I mean, I still get nervous. And she was at her daughter's house. Her daughter was showing her how to videotape, so that when she went home, she would be able to continue making her videos. And she brought some of her whips that she was working on, and then she showed some finishes that she did that her daughter has hanging up in her house, which was really nice. And then I watched who I mentioned before, Anarie Stitcherie, and her name is Anne-Marie. I will put her down. And the reason I'm bringing her up again is I watched her last video, and she shared something that she's going through that maybe she can use a little pick-me-up. If I don't know, maybe pick-me-up is not the right word, but she needs some love. So if you can watch her last video, and she talks about it. I don't want to get into details here, but you know, she can use some encouraging words. That's what she could use. And then another one that I watched was Ry R-Y-R-Y McGuy. He's a gentleman. His name is Ryan, and he was showing his. He popped up, so I says, okay, let me give it a try. I started with #5, and he showed the Jeanette Douglas little vases. She's been putting out monthly free patterns for her little vases at the beginning of every month, and he stitched one. I think, oh my goodness, it was like really tiny. So it was beautiful. And he does cross stitching, he does knitting, and then he showed some of the Ukrainian dyed eggs. He had done one when he was a young boy, and he shows that one and some other ones that he has. And I was always impressed with Ukrainian eggs. I remember when I was working, I worked in a school, mothers would come in and they would bring in, I guess the students had show and tell and stuff, and they would bring them in to show, and I ended up seeing them as well in the office. So they were beautiful, just beautiful. Anyway, and I'm always intrigued of working in reverse. It has to do with the dyeing and the wax, and I just think it's amazing. So that's it for today. I'm going to just go back and talk a little bit about some life updates, and if you're moving on, have a great rest of Sunday, the weekend, and I hope you come back in 2 weeks when I'll put out another video. You take care. Bye now. And for those of you that have stayed to hear about what has been happening since the last time we were together, my husband noticed that there was a leak in my underneath the car. So he brought it into a local mechanic. No, he brought it into where we had the oil change. He thought maybe they didn't put in one of the things correct and tight. Excuse me. And it just had to be adjusted. But when they got there, they put it on the lift. They brought him in there to show and says, look, everything we put in is not leaking. It's coming up higher up, and it was like a reddish color. He thinks, I think it's your antifreeze. So it might be your water pump. So with that, he came back home, and we called up the dealership to bring it in. And not that it's under warranty. My car is very old. I think it was a 2007 Highlander. And so anyway, he calls up. We bring it in. We bring it in a day early. Like, we were supposed to be the next day. I was going to have Caleb, so we bring it in a day earlier, which is fine. They ended up looking at it, and they said, yes, it's the water pump, and some timing belt was a little loose, so that had to be changed. That's fine. The part wasn't going to come in till Tuesday. We dropped the car off on Thursday or Friday. And so what are you going to do? The part's not going to come in. You wait. So we said, okay, fine. So anyway, Tuesday came in. So they called. The car was ready. We're going to go pick it up. But we were having trouble with his car. Anyway, that's another story. I'm not going to get into it. My car's more important because we use it most of the time. And so anyway, we get a ride from one of my sons. My daughter-in-law picked up Caleb, picked up Sal, brought him over to James's house. James brought him down because James was on vacation, to the dealership to pick up the car. James leaves, and Sal's paying and picking up the car. The dealership is on a Route 22. So he pulls out, he goes maybe a half a block, and all the lights come on the car. Check engine, hybrid failure. Every light possible came up on the car. And it was like 10 to 6, and they close at 6 o'clock. So my husband had to go to the traffic light, do a U-turn, go east, go to the first U-turn, and then come back west to get back to the dealership. He tried calling. First they picked up and hung up, and then he called another number on the receipt, and it was a national number, and they were trying to call up the dealership. And the guy was talking to him. So what happened was Sal starts making the way back, and the car actually stopped. It rolled to a stop. So he pulled up, he got on the side, luckily, and then he took a minute. That's when he called the national number, and they're trying to get in touch with the dealership to tell them not to close. And Sal, in the meantime, is trying to start the car, and slowly he makes the way back to the dealership. And luckily the door was still unlocked. The woman was still there that helped him, and she was very, very helpful. They ended up giving him a loaner to get home. And the next morning they called up. Oh, the next morning they sent a text first and said, did we put gas in the car? And I think the reason they asked that is because if they don't put the cap on correctly on your gas tank, your engine light could come on, which has happened to me. That's how I know that. And so we said, no, we literally drove at a half a block. There's no gas station there. And the lights came on. So they ran some diagnostic tests, and they told us something about that the gas tank was not reading properly, but everything that they checked was proper, was working okay. So I called up the manager because he had sent a message to my, this is long, I'm sorry, but he sent a message to my husband's text and said, how was our service? Because I guess he didn't know what had happened. So I wrote out my whole spiel, and then I spoke it into the phone, and he called. Oh, and then I called the dealership to see if I could speak with him, and they told me he was out of the office. I said, but he just texted me. Oh, well, he could do that from out of the office. Okay. He finally called, and he said the car is ready, everything is fine. It's running like a dream, and there's nothing wrong with it. He said the reading came up that something was wrong with the measuring of the levels of the gas in the gas tank, but he says everything we checked, the piece on the front of, that tells you if you need gas or not, that's working. The thing that's inside the gas tank, that's measuring correctly. So we don't know why this code came up. Okay. He says, don't worry about it, just drive it. He says, the mechanic drove it for 10 miles. I took it out for 20. I went on the highway. I went up and down mountains, blah, blah, blah. And at mountains. We have some steep roads down in that area of New Jersey. So he did that. Not mountains. I call them mountains because we live pretty flat area. But anyway, he said it was fine. And he says, don't worry about driving it. I says, I do worry about it. I said, that's my primary car. And when I go out with it, I don't want to have to worry about that I'm going to break down. So, he says, don't worry. It's going to be fine. Here's my number. Here's the extension, blah, blah, blah. And then he says, look, let me give you my cell phone number. He goes, I don't give this out. Please don't share it. But if you break down, you call. So I kind of think that there was something that maybe they missed putting back together, and they knew what it was. They put it back together and then they test rode it, because for it to have all these lights come on, and then it came on for them and they asked us what if we did anything to it, and then all of a sudden it's perfect. So I don't know, but I have my car back. It's running. I'm so happy. So anyway, that's the story. I mean, these are just little things that drive me crazy, like not having a car. We're two people, and Sal's talking about having one car, and I'm like, I want a third car, because I don't usually drive the cars he selects. In the beginning he used to have a stick, so that was out of the question. And now he has this Lincoln Town car that's like, I don't know. And he bought it used. He doesn't like buying new cars. I like buying new cars. I mean, we're the complete opposite when it comes to cars. So that's why I have my car so long. Anyway, I'm on a rant. So if you're still with me, I have some better stories. Okay, so what I've been up to, we've been loading dirt into the hole where we had our pool. We finally got the last of the dirt in there. We seeded. So now we're watering. We're hoping that the grass seed takes and starts growing, because now we have a big 24-foot circle on the side of the backyard that's right now dirt. And then I bought we went to the Lowe's. It's just like Home Depot. I don't know if they have them all over the United States, but we bought some beautiful purple pansies there. So I want to see if I can get them in the ground today. Sal is over at James's doing some demolition work. James's house, the two previous owners was a dentist, so they have a section of the house that was set up as a dentist's office. So they're starting to take the inside the walls and pipes and sinks and everything out right now. They're doing it themselves, so Sal went over to help them, and he took my car. So that's why I'm doing my floss tube, and I'm doing planting, and I don't know, maybe I'll cut the grass today, because I think I have to do it tomorrow. Or he said we have to do it tomorrow. But I always try to help him. So, I don't know. Oh, no. Anyway. So that's what I've been up to at my house. I hope you didn't get lost in that long dissertation of the car. But, until next time, stay safe, be well, be kind. Love you guys. Mwah. Take care. Bye.